Hotep, how's everybody doing today? Hey, this is Michael. I'm Hotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. I'm a talk show host, researcher, lecturer, and writer. So it is Friday, November 1st, 2019. November is here, and we are live. Everybody share this broadcast on your Facebook page. Invite your friends to tune in. Share this on YouTube also. Share this on your social media platforms. So I wanted to deal with this topic back in, let's see, October 17th. I saw this article from Black Enterprise, blackenterprise.com, and this ties into Black Women's Equal Pay Day. And I didn't get a chance to talk about this. I talked about this topic a little bit in, where was I? Washington, D.C. on the Black Agenda Tour. So this deals with how African-American women lose out on over $1 million in lost earnings over the course of their working career, over the course of a 40-year career. And this is due to the wage gap, is due to discrimination, due to racism, etc. So I've talked about this last year, dealing with Black Women's Equal Pay Day. And there's a article out from Black Enterprise and some additional information. So we're going to get into this today. So African-American business owners, post the name of your business here on the thread of the broadcast. And email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com, customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. And we'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network. All right, our current promotion is get 3 months for the price of 1. So this topic also ties into politics, ties into legislation. We know politics is the legal distribution of scarce wealth, power, and resources, and the writing of laws, statutes, ordinances, amendments, and treaties, their adoption, interpretation, and enforcement. And I'm going to talk about how this also ties into politics, all right? Okay, so let's look at, let me post the topic here also. All right, so let's look at this article from blackenterprise.com, which deals with Black women lose out on over $1 million in their careers thanks to the wage gap. This is from October 17, 2019, written by Justin Barton, all right? So African-American women will lose out on $946,000, $946,120 over a 40-year career if they continue to make 61 cents on the dollar for every $1 that the average white male makes, okay? And this analysis was done by the National Women's Law Center. So we know that Black Women's Equal Pay Day came on August 22nd of 2019. And Black Women's Equal Pay Day is the day that African American women in the year, it marks how long African American women have to work to make the same amount of money that the average white male makes in 12 months. So it takes the average African American woman 20 months to make the same amount of money that the average white male, white non-Hispanic male makes in 12 months. So assuming she and her white non-Hispanic male counterpart began work at age 20, an African-American woman would have to work until she is 86 years old to catch up to what a white non-Hispanic man has been paid by age 60. And this was from the press release from the National Women's Law Center, okay? And this deals with Black Women's Equal Pay Day. Now, what's interesting is in 2018, Black Women's Equal Pay Day came 2 weeks earlier, okay? It was, I think, about August 7th in 2018. So in 2018, the average African-American woman made 63 cents for every dollar that the average white male made. It's getting worse. It's now 61 cents, okay? So the press release, which is from nwlc.org, okay, which is the National Women's Law Center. Just very briefly here, I'll post a link here to the press release so you can read it in its entirety. The title of the press release is "The Wage Gap Cost Black Women a Staggering $946,120 Over a 40-Year Career." Okay, and let's see here. Okay, so, and one of the things they highlight is that in some states, the average that an African-American woman earns is less than 61 cents. For instance, Louisiana has the worst, Louisiana is the worst state for African-American women's wage equality. African-American women typically are paid 47 cents for every dollar that the average white non-Hispanic man is paid. 47 cents on the dollar in Louisiana. Now, African-American women stand to lose more than $1 million over a 40-year career compared to white non-Hispanic men based on today's wages in 8 states. Okay, over $1 million in 8 states. Now, in about 2000, I first found out about Black Women's Equal Pay Day about 5 years ago. Found out about it from AtlantaBlackStar.com. I think it's probably like the first article I saw. Back then, about 2000, probably 2014, 2015, one of those years, there were 5 states where African-American women over the course of their 40-year working career would lose $1 million or more, okay, because of this wage gap. Today, there are 8 states, okay, and I'm going to give you the link to this press release because this also then ties into legislation. This ties into a number of things, but this ties into wealth in the African-American community or a lack of wealth. And this also ties into the poverty rate as well, because if this is corrected, millions of African-Americans will be lifted out of poverty. And this also impacts African-American men also. Okay, so California, the wage gap is $1,155,480 over a 40-year working career for the average African-American woman. In Connecticut, $1,255,000. Louisiana, $1,196,000. Massachusetts, $1,144,000. New Jersey, $1,352,000. Texas, $1,041,000. The state of Utah, $1,077,000, and the state of Virginia, $1,005,280. Okay, so over the course from age 20 to age 60 is what the study looks at. In these 8 states, the average African-American woman, because of the wage gap, which is tied to race and gender, will lose $1 million, or actually in these 8 states, over $1 million over the course of their working lifetime. Now, I don't know your economic condition, but could you use an extra $1 million over the course of 40 years? I mean, you know how many houses in Detroit you could buy with $1 million? So despite having the second smallest wage gap in the nation for women overall compared to men overall, the wage gap between African-American women and white men, white non-Hispanic men in Washington, D.C. is larger than the gap in 49 states. Let me repeat this. Despite having the second smallest wage gap in the nation for women overall compared to men overall, the wage gap between African-American women and white non-Hispanic men in Washington, D.C. is larger than the gap in 49 states. African-American women in Washington, D.C. typically make just 51 cents for every dollar that white non-Hispanic men make, and will lose $1.8 million over a 40-year career. Will lose $1.8 million over a 40-year career. This means they would need to work until age 98 to catch up to what a white non-Hispanic man has been paid by age 60. So this is a drain of, this robs African-American families of wealth that could be used to buy real estate, buy homes, start businesses, invest in the stock market, etc. This is not, I'm not talking about a handout. I'm talking about work that was done that African-American women did, but they weren't properly compensated for. Now, among doctoral degree holders, African American women typically make 60% of what their white non-Hispanic male counterparts are paid, which is an annual loss of nearly $49,000 or more than $1.9 million over the course of a 40-year career. Okay, so this is real money. All right, now let me post a link here. This is so you can read the rest of it because I just don't have time to get through all of it. This is the press release that the National Women's Law Center put out. And this was on August 22nd, 2019, which was Black Women's Equal Pay Day for 2019. The wage gap cost Black women a staggering $946,120 over a 40-year career. NWLC new analysis shows. Okay, so let's post this link here. All right, now, how's everybody doing? Who we have here? We've got Sherry, Chigbo, Ganjaman, Atara, Tracy, just a few people watching. Also, if you like this type of information, you could donate to the African History Network, paypal.me/the AHN show, paypal.me/the AHN show, or at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. It helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep doing what we're doing. We'll be on live Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the African History Network show also. Okay, I'll be back in the studios of 9:10 a.m. the Superstation. So look out for that. And we'll broadcast here on Facebook Live as well. So we're going to have a hot show for you. All right, so let's continue here. Let's go back to the article from blackenterprise.com. All right, now, so Louisiana has the lowest average rate for African-American women at 47 cents on the dollar. Now, Louisiana also has one of the highest poverty rates in the country. And they have a very well-known prison called Angola Prison in Louisiana. And Angola Prison has a high population of African Americans. I think the population something like 60% African American in Angola Prison. It's called Angola Prison because the prison is on the land that used to be a former slave plantation. And on that plantation, the majority of the enslaved Africans came from Angola. That's where it gets its name, Angola Prison. Now, Emily Martin, who's vice president for education and workplace justice, said, quote, "There's a significant racial wealth gap in America, and African-American women's wage gap certainly plays a role in it. For many Black women, the cost of the lifetime wage gap comes close to $1 million, and in some states, it's more. It's time for the Senate, the U.S. Senate, to follow the lead of the House of Representatives and pass the Paycheck Fairness Act. Women and their families literally can't wait any longer." The Paycheck Fairness Act. Now, how many people have heard of the Paycheck Fairness Act? Now, that's very interesting because now you're talking about legislation. So what does this have to do with legislation? Well, if we look at the Paycheck Fairness Act, and there's an article from, I think that's, which one is that? Vox.com. Let's see here. Yeah, Vox.com. All right, so the House of Representatives, there have been, if you've seen some of my presentations, I've talked about this. There have been about 350 pieces of legislation that the U.S. House of Representatives has passed since January 3rd, 2019, when Democrats took control of the House of Representatives because of the results of the midterm elections in 2018, all right? So most of these bills die in the Senate because Republicans control the U.S. Senate. And let me pull up this article here. The House just passed a bill called, the House just passed a bill to close the gender pay gap. The House just passed a bill to close the gender pay gap, all right? And this deals with the Paycheck Fairness Act. Let me pull this up here. Now, this bill passed in March of 2019. Okay, let's look at this here. And this ties into legislation. So once again, politics is the legal distribution of scarce wealth, power, and resources, and the writing of laws, statutes, ordinances, amendments, and treaties, their adoption, interpretation, and enforcement. Politics impacts every aspect of our lives, from the water we drink to the air we breathe to the food we eat. Unfortunately, many of us don't understand how politics impacts us and how we can impact politics. Okay, so if we look at this article here from March 27, 2019, House Democrats easily passed the Paycheck Fairness Act on Wednesday, their latest in a long series of attempts to make sure women and men are paid equally. The final vote was 242 to 187. Democrats were joined by 7 Republicans. So if we look at what is the Paycheck Fairness Act, right? So the Paycheck Fairness Act essentially works to close loopholes in the landmark Equal Pay Act of 1963, which required that men and women receive equal pay for equal work. Now, I'm going to skip over some of this here. You can read the rest of it. The Equal Pay Act says employers cannot differentiate salary based on gender unless a number of factors, including seniority, merit, and work level, come into play. On its face, it makes sense. A new entry-level employee would not be paid the same as a higher level employee with more experience. But over the years, women found out that they were making far less than their male colleagues with the same experience and the same job titles. The most well-known example is Lilly Ledbetter, who sued her employer Goodyear Tire after finding out that male managers with less experience were getting paid more money than she was as a female manager. Now, Lilly Ledbetter's crusade resulted in the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act, which President Barack Obama signed into law in 2009. Now, that law changed the Civil Rights Act so that workers could sue for fair compensation up to 180 days after receiving a discriminatory paycheck from their employers, rather than when the salary decision was made. Okay, so let me skip ahead here because this article is about 5 pages. All right, now, the Paycheck Fairness Act ties into this. One, and this is being held up in the U.S. Senate by Senator Mitch McConnell, Senate Majority Leader of Kentucky, and other Republicans. And let's see here. The article goes on to talk about how there are several reasons for the pay difference. Women are less likely. So one of the things this article deals with is, let's see, Alexia Fernandez Campbell wrote for Vox.com that the bill did not exactly work as intended. The Equal Pay Act of 1963 did not exactly work as intended. Progress has been hampered in a number of ways. There are several reasons for the pay difference when it comes to women and men, in general, women and men. Then we have African-American women. There are several reasons for the pay difference. Women are less likely to negotiate pay and more likely to be penalized when they try to negotiate pay. They are also more likely to choose career fields that pay lower salaries and are often pushed out of the highest paying professions in the country, which reward workers who put in long hours, schedules that disproportionately hurt working mothers, okay? But after taking education, occupation, and other work hours into account, researchers say that discrimination could explain about 1/3 of the pay gap. Okay, so check out this article in its entirety because this is 5 pages. I don't have time to get through all of it. the House just passed a bill to close the gender pay gap. Okay, so a lot of people don't know that this bill is languishing in the U.S. Senate. This is one of the reasons why the U.S. Senate is extremely important. Congress is a co-equal branch of government. You cannot get these bills passed through both chambers of Congress with obstructionist Republicans. All right, now let's go back to the article from blackenterprise.com. Okay, and this article from blackenterprise.com is entitled "Black Women Lose Out Over $1 Million in their careers thanks to the wage gap." Okay, so this article talks about the Paycheck Fairness Act, and then the other thing was one of the first executive orders that Donald Trump signed was one reversing a Obama era initiative, an Obama era executive order that dealt with fair pay for women. And this was, what was the name of that one? I think this is the right article. This is from NBCnews.com. But this is another one. Trump halted Obama's equal pay rule, what it means for working women. Okay, that's not the article I'm looking for. It was another one. I think it's this one right here. This is from, I think, March of 2017. Yeah, this is it right here. April 2017, April 3rd, 2017. Trump pulls back Obama era protections for women workers. Trump pulls back Obama era protections for women workers. All right. And this dealt with women who are federal employees. With little notice, Donald Trump recently signed an executive order that advocates say rolls back hard-fought victories for women in the workplace. This also includes African-American women. This applies to African-American women as well, even though it doesn't say race. Tuesday's equal pay day. So this article is from April 3rd, 2017. Tuesday's equal pay day, which highlights the wage disparity between men and women, is the perfect time to draw more attention to Trump's action, activists say. On March 27th, Donald Trump revoked the 2014 Fair Pay and Safe Workplaces order that then President Barack Obama put in place to ensure that companies with federal contracts comply with 14 labor and civil rights laws. See, Trump is reversing all of these regulations. And a lot of this stuff he's reversing, we don't even know that it's taking place, but it's impacting us. And Trump is not just reversing legislation like this, he's also reversing legislation and policy. He's also reversing policies when it comes to the environment. So there have been about 85 policies that he has reversed since New York Times has a big article on this, and I printed it up. I can't find it right here. Here it is right here. Because I have thousands of articles bookmarked, so I have all this stuff bookmarked. 85 environmental rules being rolled back under Trump. 85 environmental rules being rolled back under Trump. All of this stuff is interconnected. It's not separate. You can't just isolate it and say, well, we're going to vote for this person because of this policy over here. All of this stuff is connected, and we don't understand how this impacts us on a daily basis. Okay, so this was last updated September 12, 2019. There have been 53 rollbacks completed, 32 rollbacks in place. All right, this is dealing with air pollution and emissions, drilling and extraction, infrastructure and planning, toxic substances and safety, water pollution. Okay, read this. This is from New York Times. All right, because if you read the many people know there's a census every 10 years. So in 2020, the 2020 census is going to be taken. But there's an annual census report that comes out every September. If you've been looking at some of the articles that I've been posting, over the past few weeks, I've been posting articles that deal with the results of the annual census report. And in the annual census report, one of the things that it's been talking about is there was one that was dealing with how the quality of air under the Trump administration has been deteriorating. And this is because of a rollback in regulations, okay? There was an article from the Washington Post. I may have this up somewhere, bookmark. Let me try to pull this up quickly here. But if you want to see the impact of policies at the national level, how federal policies impact across the country, read the annual census report. Let me see if I can pull this up because I just saw this article and I meant to print it before I left town. Here we go. Okay, October 23rd, 2019. Air pollution is getting worse and data show more people are dying. Air pollution is getting worse and data show more people are dying. Eroding air quality was linked to 10,000 additional U.S. deaths over a 2-year period. This article is from October 23rd, 2019. Okay, this is last month. Air pollution worsened in the United States in 2017 and 2018. New data shows a reversal after years of sustained improvement with significant implications for public health. 2017, 2018, who was president? In 2018 alone, eroding air quality was linked to nearly 10,000 additional deaths in the US relative to the 2016 benchmark, the year in which small particle pollution reached a 2-decade low, according to researchers at Carnegie Mellon University. And Trump is a climate change denier as well. Read this article here. This is from Washington Post. Air pollution is getting worse, and data show more people are dying. All right. But if you look at the annual census report, you can see the impact that policies coming from the federal government are having, and one in particular is this is from Washington Post from I think this is October 2nd, 2019. More Americans go without health coverage despite strong economy, Census Bureau finds. More Americans go without health coverage despite strong economy, Census Bureau finds. The proportion of Americans without health insurance grew significantly last year, 2018, for the first time this decade. Wait a second, hold on. I thought Trump talked about what all he was going to do for Black people. The proportion of Americans without health insurance grew significantly in 2018 for the first time this decade, even as the economy's strength pushed down the poverty level to its lowest point since 2001, according to federal data released Tuesday. The finding that 27.5 million U.S. residents lacked coverage in 2018 based on a large U.S. Census Bureau survey reverses the trend that began when the Affordable Health Care Act, ostensibly known as Obamacare, expanded opportunities for poor and some middle-income people to get insurance. Taken together, the census numbers paint a portrait of an economy pulled in different directions, with the falling poverty rate coinciding with high inequality and the growing cadre of people at financial risk because they do not have health coverage. Why isn't Trump talking about this? Why he tries to avoid impeachment? Why isn't he talking about this? This is from the annual census report. So a lot of news outlets, Washington Post, New York Times, NBC News, The Hill, all this stuff, Huffington Post, they're writing articles dealing with the findings coming from the annual census report that most people don't even know exists. and it's showing the impact of policies at the federal level. All right. Politics is the legal distribution of scarce wealth, power, and resources, the writing of laws, statutes, ordinances, amendments, and treaties, their adoption, interpretation, and enforcement. This is an example of how elections have consequences. The Affordable Health Care Act gave health care to 3 million non-elderly African Americans who did not already have health care. The Affordable Health Care Act saved millions of people's lives, including millions of white people's lives. Go to whitehouse.gov, download this document. Because every city I lecture in, I ask you, has anybody read this? Progress of the African American community during the Obama administration. This is at whitehouse.gov. It's still there. Trump hasn't taken it down. It was up during the Obama administration, and this breaks down by category everything from the labor market to criminal justice to education. It shows how policies from the Obama administration directly positively impacted African Americans, and many of these have either been reversed or they're under attack right now. Every city I lecture in, I ask who's read this. 99.9% of the people, nobody has read it and haven't even heard of it. It's free. It's at whitehouse.gov. It's still there. Trump hasn't taken it down. He hasn't taken it down yet. Don't tell him it's there because they'll probably take it down. All right, let's continue. How's everybody doing? We got, let me see here who we have. Bonita, Dee Dee, just a few people watching. Connie, all right. All right, so let's continue here. And African American business owners, post the name of your business here on the thread of the broadcast. We'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network. And we have a new bundle pack. It's a new digital download bundle pack that I just uploaded today at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. It's our Black Migrations 1619 to 2019 digital download bundle pack. And it's on sale right now. We have a 48-hour sale. It's on sale $40, regularly $60. Includes 6 of my latest lectures. It's in digital download format. We have it in a DVD format also at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, but this is in digital download format. There's more people have been asking for digital downloads, and it includes 6 principles of political self-defense, also understanding how laws and policies impact the economic conditions of African Americans. All right, let's see here. Yeah, okay, we'll post a link for that also. All right, so let's continue. All right, let's go back to the article from blackenterprise.com. All right, so advanced education, advanced education among African American women has not been shown to lower the wage gap. Advanced education among African American women has not been shown to lower the wage gap. Okay, in fact, the gap is largest for the most educated African American women. Now, this is not saying don't get education. All right, I don't want you to misunderstand what I'm saying, but this wage gap is impacting African American women across the spectrum. Doctorate degree holders who are African American women tend to make 60% less of what their white male counterparts make. African American women have the highest student loan debt of any racial or ethnic group. For an undergraduate degree, the average African American woman carries nearly $30,400 in debt compared to $19,500 for white men, and on average $22,000 for their white counterparts, male and female. The wage gap lessens African American women's ability to pay off educational debt, creating an additional barrier to saving money that could be used to buy a home, start a business, or used for emergencies, the report stated. So what we have is not just the wage gap, okay? of a loss of 900 and almost $1 million. In the 8 states, over $1 million. On average, $946,000 over the course of a 40-year working career. It's not just that, but also when we calculate in student loan debt, this makes it harder for African American women and their families to pay off debt, acquire land, invest, etc. All right, now, along with this, so we have the Paycheck Fairness Act, which is one thing that I talked about. And then there was another article, let's see here, this one here. This is from Forbes.com. On Black Women's Equal Pay Day, here's how women are fighting to close the gap. On Black Women's Equal Pay Day, here's how women are fighting to close the gap. This is from August 22nd, 2019 from Forbes.com. So Forbes is a well-known business magazine, business publication. All right. Let's see here. And we'll post this link here for the just download bundle pack. All right, so one of the things that this article talks about is, I'm skipping over things that are redundant. So it talks about on page 5, this is a 6-page article. On page 5, it talks about long-term efforts. The Paycheck Fairness Act, which has passed through the House of Representatives, but is not yet through the Senate, is one step in the right direction. If passed, the legislation would prohibit employers from viewing job applicants' salary history, require companies to provide pay information by race and gender to the EEOC, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Okay, it will require companies to provide pay information by race and gender to the EEOC, and allow employees to openly discuss salaries with colleagues without repercussions. Now, Nationa, let's see here, who is this? Emily Martin, who's vice president for education and workplace justice at the National Women's Law Center, said, quote, "You can't challenge the fact," and let me pull up this article here. This is the one about Forbes. I have a bunch of these articles here. And, you know, I'm always surprised how I'll speak in different cities. And I'll ask, who is familiar with Black Women's Equal Pay Day? And most of the African-American women never heard of it before. But this all impacts them. All right, let's see here. Why isn't this coming? Okay, let's pull up this article from Forbes.com. On Black Women's Equal Pay Day, here's how women are fighting to close the gap. All right, this is written by Brianne Garrett. So on page 6, of the article, it says you can't challenge the fact that you're being paid less than the white guy across the hall if you have no idea what any of your coworkers make. Okay, says Emily Martin, Vice President for Education and Workplace Justice at the National Women's Law Center. But Emily Martin says, quote, "There's other important work to do to close the race and gender wage gap that is not just about tightening pay discrimination laws." Okay, end quote. This includes initiatives like raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, since African-American women are overrepresented in low-wage work, and working to strengthen pregnancy and family leave policies. All this ties into legislation. All this ties into legislation. Let me repeat this. This includes initiatives like raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, since African American women are overrepresented in low wage work. Plus, because African American women are more likely to be unmarried heads of the household, they would benefit from regulations that ensure affordable child care, paid leave, and work-life balance. Emily Martin said, quote, there's often an assumption that the wage gap is just about strengthening equal pay laws. That's really important, but the wage gap has a lot of different drivers and requires thinking about gender and race and power in the workplace more broadly. So we know about the Paycheck Fairness Act that was passed March of 2019 in the U.S. House of Representatives, right? But a lot of people don't know that in July 18th, 2019, in the U.S. House of Representatives, they passed a bill to raise the federal minimum wage from $7.25 an hour to $15 an hour. How many people knew this? So if we look at the article from CNBC.com, House passes bill to hike the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. This ties right into what the article from Forbes.com is talking about, raising the federal minimum wage. Well, that's legislation. It's passed the House of Representatives. Guess what? It's stuck in the Senate. It's passed the House of Representatives. It's stuck in the Senate. The House passed a bill, and NBC News has an article about this as well. House passes $15 minimum wage bill. The bill would gradually increase the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour by the year 2025. The federal minimum wage has not been raised since 2009. So all this ties into politics. All this ties into legislation. This House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Democrat from California, said on Thursday at a press conference, this article is from July 18th, 2019, quote, this is about workers. It's about their economic and financial security. And today is a bright day because it affects so many people in our country. Now, quote unquote, now the bill called the Raise the Wage Act was introduced by Representative Bobby Scott, Democrat of Virginia. Okay, and he's a member of the Congressional Black Caucus. The bill passed 231 to 199. It calls for a gradual increase in the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour from the current $7.25 an hour federal minimum wage to be phased in over several years. The federal minimum wage has not been raised since 2009. Okay, now let me see here. Okay, so you can look at this. So these two bills, the Paycheck Fairness Act and this bill right here, could literally lift millions of African Americans out of poverty. Let me post this link here. Okay, so that is the link to the article from NBC News, and there was one also from CNBC. I'll give you that. Now, I'm neither Democrat nor Republican, so if y'all watch me, y'all know this. But I study policy, and I know who is blocking bills in Congress that are beneficial to us. I look at govtrack.us and keep track of bills at govtrack.us. And I see where the bills are dying. They're dying in the Senate. Many of these bills are dying in the Senate. The Senate is blocking these. Let's see here. Okay. So, and just Google it for CNBC also, but I posted the article from NBCnews.com. All right, so when we look at this from dealing with Black Women's Equal Pay Day, This ties into, we see this ties into racism. This ties into policy as well. All right. Now, a lot of people say, well, they should start their own businesses. Well, many African American women are doing this. Actually, there are more African American women business owners than there are African American men business owners. Did you know this? So if we look at the article from, this is from fortune.com. Which one is this? This is another one from Forbes.com. This is from Forbes.com. Black women entrepreneurs, the good and not so good news. Black women entrepreneurs, the good and not so good news, right? We're going to come to this in just a minute. All right. How's everybody doing? Okay, everybody share this broadcast on your Facebook page. Invite your friends to tune in also. If you like this type of information, you can donate to the African History Network, paypal.me/the AHN show. paypal.me/the AHN show, or at our website, africanhistorynetwork.com, africanhistorynetwork.com. I will be in Houston, Texas, the weekend of November 9th for the Black Agenda Tour. Be there with Michi X and Dr. Shauna and Q Butter and a host of other people as well. We'll be at that Saturday, we'll be at the Shrine of the Black Madonna Cultural Center and Bookstore on Martin Luther King Boulevard. So visit theblacagendamovement.com, theblacagendamovement.com for more information. Also, we have the information at our website, africanhistorynetwork.com, africanhistorynetwork.com. Okay, the information there about tickets and everything. And then that Friday, they have that Friday is the community activist training, the community training, and that'll be 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. They'll have the location at the website, theblacagendamovement.com. All right. Let's see here. Okay, so let's post this. Here we go. Then African American business owners, post the name of your business here on the thread of the broadcast. We'll let you know how you can advertise with the African History Network. Email us at customerservice@africanhistorynetwork.com. Now, a lot of people want to learn more about investing. They want to invest in the stock market, et cetera. They want to create generational wealth. Now, the Profit Room can help you with this, okay? So the profitroom.com is a stock market trading and education company that has mentorship programs that are designed for beginners. They teach individuals how to create generational wealth through trading and investing in the financial markets. They can teach you about the stock market, options, futures, foreign exchange markets, also called Forex. Their specialty is day trading and providing one-on-one mentorship. Visit their website, theprofitroom.com/wealth building. For more information, theprofitroom.com/wealth building. All right. Now, Terry said the bill is unlikely to pass the Republican-dominated Senate. The bill has to pass the House and the Senate to take place. Yeah, that's what I've been talking about. That's why Senator Mitch McConnell has to be voted out in 2020. He has about a 37% approval rating in Kentucky because people in Kentucky don't even like him. And he's the Senate Majority Leader, and no bill can come to the Senate floor for a debate or discussion without his approval, and no bill can come to the Senate floor for a vote without his approval. And Democrats have to take control of the U.S. Senate in 2020, which means people have to vote. Because you can't get these bills passed. You can't get these bills passed in the Senate with Republicans in control of the Senate. And at the same time, Republicans have confirmed 150 of Donald Trump's nominations to the federal bench as well, changing the landscape of the federal bench. And these judgeships are a lifetime appointment. He's gotten 150, actually a little more than 151. Because he just got one confirmed about 2 weeks ago, was 37 years old, and the American Bar Association said this person is totally unqualified to be a federal judge. So this is what I'm saying. This is an example of how elections have consequences. This is why Republicans work so hard to control the U.S. Senate so they can keep confirming Donald Trump's nominations for federal judges, and the list he's getting with these names on it from the federal judges are coming from the Heritage Foundation and the Federalist Society, which are two right-wing, conservative organizations, and they're focusing on controlling law, federal law, for the next 25, 30, 35 years. That's why they're nominating these very young, ultra conservative white male judges in their 30s. This is why. We don't understand how elections have consequences. All right, so if we look at this article here from Forbes.com, Black women entrepreneurs, the good and not so good news. So there, as of 2018, there were 4 million African-American owned businesses, okay? In 2007, there were 1.9 million. If you look at the survey of African-American owned businesses from the Census Bureau, 2012, there was 2.6 million. Okay, now there are 4 million. African-American women own 2.4 million of those businesses, right? But when we look at earnings, what we see is that the majority of African-American women business owners are working 39 hours, are working less than 39 hours a week in these businesses, all right? So, and we've also seen a decline in the average revenue of African-American owned businesses in general. It went from somewhere around 100 and maybe about 110,000 down to about 54,000 or so, okay, as we have more businesses. So in this article, it talks about starting a side business. For many African-American women business owners, the tiny size of their firms is intentional, regardless of the dearth or lack of capital available from lenders. That's partly because they're often launched as side businesses out of a financial necessity. Most African-American women entrepreneurs work part-time in their businesses, less than 39 hours a week, according to the Federal Reserve report. It goes on to say many African-American women founders, startup businesses, business owners, may be single parents and need to have this dual income to support the household needs. And when they're making on average 61 cents that the average white male is making, they need a business on the side to generate this extra money. And this is what's taking place, right? This is why those 2 pieces of legislation are very important. Now, there are other pieces of legislation that can help. And when we look at the article from the other article from Forbes.com on Black Women's Equal Pay Day, here's how women are fighting to close the gap. And they talk about working to strengthen pregnancy and family leave policies, okay? And they talk about African-American women would benefit from regulations that ensure affordable child care, paid leave, work-life balance, et cetera, right? All this ties into policy. Okay, so read this article also from Forbes, Black Women Entrepreneurs, the Good and Not So Good News. This article is from September 9th, 2018, September 9th, 2018. All right, so what people have to understand is when you vote for president, or especially president, but president applies to members of the House of Representatives or U.S. Senate, but especially president, this is not about one person versus another person. This is dealing with the trajectory of this country. This is dealing with policies that you don't even know, that you don't even understand the impact of. Now, if you read the annual census report, go to census.gov. Go to census.gov, search for the 2019 annual census report, okay? And because when you start reading these articles and when you start reading the annual census report, you see the impact that policies have at the federal level. That trickles down to state, county, city. All right. And I'm on the census.gov right now. All right, and we have another new advertiser also, okay? So if you're in the market to buy a car, then Car Marshall can help you with that. Visit Car Marshall if you're looking for a new or used car. Click on the link below that I'll post here, and Car Marshall will help you find help you find and negotiate buying a new vehicle. Over 100,000 new and used cars from dealers. Car Marshal, you shop, we negotiate. Okay, let's look at some of your comments before we get out of here. Sure, let's do the African History Network show Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We broadcast here. We're on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation. I've been in and out of town every other week, and they were playing baseball, Major League Baseball. World Series is over with, and they playing some other stuff, other sports. But I'll be on Sunday night. We should be back on pretty regularly now, unless I'm out of town. Lorinda, how you doing, Lorinda? Oftentimes, when there's increasing the minimum wage, the loophole is that the employer shortens the hours available to work. Terry, the bill, however, is on. Okay, we talked about that. Messed up. I can't understand why my people refuse to vote. Well, because we don't understand the impact. We don't understand what politics is and how the impact that bills have on us. And we listen to the wrong people. That's why you should subscribe to the African History Network. Right here on Facebook. Click on notifications so you know when we go live. Follow me also on YouTube, Michael Imhotep, Imhotep. All right. Look, we have to get out of here. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. You can also subscribe to our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828. Sign up for our email newsletter, or at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Just click on newsletter at the top. We have a 48-hour sale going on right now. We have a lot of bundle packs and things like that on sale. Remember, right now it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you next time. Peace.